Hello everyone. I'll be doing a deck profile of one of my main decks right now. I've been playing it since release. It's the Chaos Breaker Dragon. Playing Link Joker is a really easy time, and it's all about control. Obviously, the lack of retaliation makes the games easier, I should say. The Link Jokers are so good that unless you play Link Joker in the BT 12 to 13 format, you basically lose. Fortunately now Novell and soon Minerva and the new Liberators, they'll be really lethal, so they'll actually be able to compete with the Link Jokers. This is the Japanese deck box, and since it wasn't released in Europe, I imported them straight from Japan, and I kind of like this deck box, although it's kind of big. Inside of the deck box I have the standard, the BT13 deck box. And inside of that I have the limited edition Japanese sleeves. I kind of like these sleeves. I looked everywhere for sleeves and finally I found these. I think they look kind of good, and they really they fit the theme of the Link Joker. It's the unrestricted power of the locks, the deck of Kai in the anime. Yeah, let's get to it. So to start out the deck, I've decided to use the Star Vader Dustale Unicorn. The Dustale Unicorn is my favorite starter, although the Searcher has its merits too. The Searcher basically increases the consistency in, for example, getting the break ride, as well as having a better shot at the start hand, because you can, if needed, toss any grade 3 back into the deck and pray for the starter Searcher, the grade 3 Searcher, to find it. And I had great game tests with that, but recently I've kind of come to a conclusion that I think this is my favorite starter. I usually use it to get another front row lock, or just because I need a Star Vader in the soul. Crit triggers, I decided to run 7 crit triggers. I've tried everything from 6 to 12 crit triggers, and my favorite right now is 7. It kind of feels like a sweet spot where you get enough draws without drawing into draws too much. Drawing into a crit trigger is way better than drawing into a draw trigger. And since the deck has so much draw power, it's kind of frustrating playing too many draws. I play 5 draw triggers. Then I obviously play my 4 unflippers. I need unflippers so I can lock more. They're really good cards. From my grade 1 lineup, I've, just like everybody else in the whole planet, I've decided to use 4 perfect cards. It's not a big shocker. And now that Novell is released, yeah, you need your perfect cards even more. If I could have 8, I would probably have 8. For my grade 1 lineup, I've decided to include some standard boosters. The Lanthanum is really good in the Chaos Breaker deck, but not quite as good as for the Nebula Lord in my opinion. I only run 2 because there is so much tech at 1 that you can use. The Colony Maker makes you able to superior call just about anything, so I brought a couple of extras here that I'm able to call when needed. I'm running 4 Palladium. Palladium are one of the keys to the deck. It makes me able to keep a lock. If I just get a lock, I'm able to save it during the game. It also costs 1 counterblasts and add another Star Vader to the soul. It's really handy. I run 4 because they are amazing. Next up I run 2 Neons. The Neons are really good cards, and they are even better because of Colony Maker. You are able to superior call them when you want to, and being able to superior call a front row is really handy. They are ridiculously flexible. I also run 2 of the Vanguard boosters because I think Vanguard boosters are... it's not required, but as it builds an 18k behind the Vanguard, even if it's not active, it's special effect, it's really alright. I don't think it's a liability, and being able to superior call it with Colony Maker increases its consistency further. So I think it's really important. It brings some power that Link Joker really lack. As for my grade 2 lineup, to start it off, I have 2 Colony Maker. They're a kind of techie tool that I bring. For 1 counterblast for a searched +1, that is ridiculously good. One of my mains in the deck, it's the Radon. The Radon is so good, and in the current meta you really need your 12k beaters. You need the 19k columns to be able to get rid of any kind of rearguard threat. On your third turn or second turn, if you hit a grade 2 Vanguard or lower, these guys build magic numbers, and with the Lantern behind, they actually hit for considerable numbers. Another of my ace cards is the Mobius Dragon. 3 is fine. Having 4 increases the percentage of getting it somewhat, but it increases the possibility of being clogged by it by tons. So having just 3 doesn't feel like a liability, while it brings incredible pressure at some games. Especially against rushy decks like Aqua Force or Nova Grapplers. It usually forces like a PG, either that or a hit. Then I bring 2 Niobium. It's just basically another beater. Since Link Joker lack power, yeah, Niobium brings it. For my grade 3 lineup, obviously, I have the Break Ride. This is the best Break Ride in the game, in my opinion. For example, you could lock the Vanguard booster as well as a whole column. The column could hit for 2 to 3 stages. It could remove potential on-hit pressure. It can't activate the Aqua Force thingy without a second rearguard column. So much things happen when you remove that column. And being able to to pass their Vanguard with just 1 10k shield, that is fabulous. It is incredible. And I bring 1 of the Nebula Lord. The Nebula Lord is sort of my tech. He's supposed to save me occasionally, because when one is facing the Chaos Breaker deck, and one sees it as like this slow draw power deck without a way to finish the game, suddenly I shift gears after the break rides and end the game with columns hitting for 35,000 or higher. Just like that. And my main Vanguard is obviously the Chaos Breaker Dragon. It is currently pretty broken. It will be less broken now that BD14 is released this next week. But for now, it is just that strong. You get free locks from the Break Ride that I just turn into card advantage after already having turned it into card advantage by just the rearguards not being able to hit me. It is just an incredible card overall, and this guy has crushed so many matches. I usually try to break ride at least twice. One could argue that you could use, for example, more of the Lanthanums, and I totally support it, but you cannot drop the Palladiums. One could, I suppose, drop the Vanguard booster. One could also increase the amount of Niobiums. I only run the 2. One could run 4 or 3 or any number you'd like, and it would probably be at the cost of the colony makers. Not everyone likes the colony makers. I just like being able to toolbox the grade ones I need, especially since Palladium kind of consumes himself. So I think it's a really handy card to have. Should the opponent have started first, they might have a 10k Vanguard. If they have a 10k Vanguard, you cannot have your little shit here. It's too small. You'd have to use something like this or this or this. I've lent this to a friend. He won the tournament. It was his first time playing Link Joker, actually. Kind of says something about the deck, doesn't it? Anyways, that's it for the deck profile, and if you have any questions regarding the build, you could just ask me.